Hey guys, my name is Gabe, creator of the Fantasy Blueprint. If you're looking for daily fantasy information like player salaries, value reports, optimal lineups, and injury reports, we're the place for you. Now let's go make some money.
Here we go. Diving into week one. All right. So week one, a lot of big games, right? A lot of exciting things. The season's back. You don't really know exactly what to expect. So this is kind of a feeling your way through it. You'll get a better feel once you get to week three, four, probably. But just kind of looking into week one, are there any value picks that you feel have got to be a lock for this week?
Yeah, I got a lot of players that I really like this week. When you're starting out first week of the season, you get a lot of similarities between salary points because people haven't really separated themselves yet between being
Yeah.
who's going to lead in targets with all the roster moves and rookies joining the teams. So I'll some of the players I like just off the rip. Malik Neighbors at the Giants at 5,900, rookie. Kind of
Rookie.
risky, but he is probably going to be the leader in targets there on a bad team. And
Yeah. Terrible team.
I'm going to quiz you, Britton. KJ Osborne at 3,500. Can you guess where he's playing at right now?
Well, last year he played in Minnesota, didn't he?
Yep, he was at the Vikings last year, but he's now switched teams. And he's
So
probably going to lead the team in targets.
he's going to lead the team in targets.
Probably. They're that bad.
Jeez, dude. Is he at the Giants?
New England Patriots. KJ
Dang,
Osborne. He
sneaky,
was the number two behind
sneaky.
Justin Jefferson, and he outscored Justin Jefferson a few times as a number
Yeah,
two. So him being at the Patriots is kind of something I'm looking at. He's around 3,500, so he's really cheap. But it's kind of
that
like a
is sneaky.
revolving door. It's kind of a revolving door of the Patriots. Like they have some rookies, they have some guys that have been there for a while. So if he can step up and take control of that number one, he'll definitely get some targets. But and then just a couple other guys, just keep it real quick. Rome Odunze at the Bears, about 4,000. He's potentially could lead that team in targets if he can take over some of the veterans that are there. But right now, Keenan Allen's questionable. So at 4,000, if he becomes number two there behind DJ Moore, that's very
Solid.
yeah, that's a good play.
I think for me, week one, all these quarterbacks are so similar, right? Price wise. But you look at kind of what you're saying, the multiplier by three, right? You look at Baker Mayfield, what DraftKings kind of has him projected at. He's at about 18 point something, almost 19 points. But he's sitting there at a 5,600 salary, 5,500 salary as we go into the weekend. I think for me, that's kind of who I would build around, thinking that there's a good chance that he can triple his salary pretty easily, especially with Mike Evans, Chris Godwin, and then Rashad White in the backfield as well. I think there's a good chance for me that my kind of lineup lock of the week is going to be Baker Mayfield. So that's kind of the value that I see right now. Obviously, Gabe, you've got a whole list there, which is why you're the expert, right? But I'm kind of just curious to see how week one plays out. I feel like right now we're just kind of feeling our way through it. There's a lot of value, I think, out there. So there's a couple guys that you can kind of build around, so to speak. Kind of just moving forward a little bit. Obviously, we want to kind of these videos are designed to be pretty quick. Obviously, we know that everybody's got busy schedules. We want to give you free information, quick information that you can go and make your lineups and get locked in. But kind of as you're working through these lineups this weekend, obviously we're recording on Wednesday, so there'll be updates throughout the week on our TikTok channel, which is at where, Gabe?
So if you go to our TikTok, it's at fantasy.blueprint on TikTok. And what we'll kind of do on that channel is if there's anything that we can't touch in this video because maybe a player's injured or a roster move is made, you can check our TikTok out. We'll try and put videos up on there before the game starts and basically give you an update on who is like a must start player depending upon their value. And that can happen frequently in the middle of the season when a guy's on the injury report and they don't release that information until 10
Yeah.
o'clock on Sunday, an hour before the game. And that's probably going to be the best place to find it is if you go to the TikTok channel. We should have this posted.
So kind of as we're looking at our lineups, you talked a little bit about value. I kind of talked a little bit of value and kind of a lineup lock, but for you, is there a lineup lock, a must start this week as we walk into week one of fantasy football?
Yeah, so kind of the way I view DraftKings is I try to find, 3 to 4 players that I view as like my core players.
Mhm.
This week, I think my my optimum, like my favorite play this week is Greg Dortch for the Cardinals. He's
Mm,
listed at a salary of 3,900. He's in an offense where the offensive coordinator has said he's expecting a big year out of them. They lost Hollywood Brown. They brought in Marvin
yep.
Harrison Jr., who will probably take a lot of the coverage away, and he operates primarily in the slot. Michael Wilson is their number two right now. He's probably playing on the outside. And with Kyler Murray and his ability to extend plays, a slot guy, if he
Yeah.
can get loose with the coverage all drawn to Marvin Harrison, that's a big thing. And I
Yeah.
think he'll have a good. I think he's have a good year.
I like it. I like it. Do you have kind of Greg Dortch as your one? Do you have any others that you're kind of building around, or is it specifically just him as your one kind of
Right
building
now,
block?
I would say right now, my core four is how I describe them. I'm
Mhm.
starting Greg Dortch and Alvin Kamara. He's at a salary of around 6,700 against a really bad Panthers team. I feel like he's going to get a
Yeah.
lot of looks there. And also Dalton Kincaid for the Bills at 5,800. He is easily the best receiver they have on the roster right now, and he's a tight end. And
Yeah.
in games last year when Stephon Diggs and Gabe Davis were struggling and they lost Dawson Knox, Kincaid really stepped up and he had some good games. So I'd say
Yeah.
Greg Dortch, Alvin Kamara, and Dalton Kincaid are kind of my three players I'm building my lineup around. I'll have some variations of that, but those three will most likely be in all my lineups.
Baby. So let's kind of dive into lineups as a whole, right? So we talked a little bit about the formula at the beginning of this video. Um, Gabe has kind of taken some of the things that DraftKings and these other sites have done and kind of built his own spreadsheet out, right? So that's kind of how we look at our optimal lineups. And as we're looking through the week one, right, spits out a bunch, right? You've built it around three running backs,
Yeah.
four receivers, or two tight ends, kind of as your flex. So week one, optimal lineup, kind of dive into you can kind of dive into each one because I know you've
Yeah.
kind of worked through this and there's multiple lineups to look at, but kind of give me your lineup for the three running backs and then kind of dive into the other as we kind of work through this.
For the three running back lineup, it's showing right now at quarterback Baker Mayfield, running back Joe Mixon, Rashad White as your second running back. And then for your three receivers, you got Rome Odunze, Drake London, Tyreek Hill. At your tight end, you got Kyle Pitts. And your flex, you got Jerome Ford. At your defense, they're showing the Texans. And I really like the Texans defense at 2,700. Will Anderson, who was
Cheap.
defensive rookie of the year last year. They, I think, assigned Azeez Al-Shaair he was at the Titans last year. He's a good middle linebacker, and they got some good corners there. So I like the Texans defense in that spot. And also, like we touched on earlier, Britain's value play is Baker Mayfield. And sure enough, the spreadsheet agrees with him. And also
What I
Roma,
said.
another one of those players that's in there. And they like him a lot. The next one was a four wide receiver lineup. So you have that fourth slot is a flex spot. So you can kind of decide if you want to go three running backs, two in your main running back spots, and then in the flex you go for a third running back, or you could go four receivers, or you could also go two tight ends. So a tight end in your regular spot and then a tight end in your flex. I don't necessarily
Yep.
recommend a tight end in your flex unless you find somebody like Travis Kelce, who's basically a number one receiver. Then not a bad
Right.
play. But
Yeah.
uh, for the
Yeah.
four wide receiver lineup, you have pretty much the same team all the way around. You just have a switch where one of your receivers is Tank Dell instead of having that third running back. You substitute Tank Dell into there instead of Jerome Ford. And for your two tight end lineup, once again, a very, very similar lineup. You have Drake London, Rome Odunze. You have Evan Ingram and Kyle Pitts as your flex and tight ends. So those are your three optimized lineups for Sunday slate. So the noon slate on Sunday. It covers the 12 o'clock games and then also the 3:30 games. It doesn't cover the night games or the Monday night games. So it's just a Sunday 12 o'clock, 3 o'clock games.
So that's kind of a good model on how to build something out and how to kind of figure out what you like and don't like and make adjustments. So you've seen what the analytics has spit out to you, right?
Yep.
But we want to know, I want to know, what is the lineup that you will be going with for Sunday for the 12 o'clock? in 3 o'clock games.
Yeah. So I'm a big stack guy. I love stacking quarterbacks and receivers. I rarely stack a quarterback and a running back unless maybe you have like a prime Austin Eckler situation. So the
Yeah.
lineup that I'm rolling out is as follows. I got Kyler Murray at the quarterback spot, Alvin Kamara in my running back spot, Rashad White, Greg Dortch, Tyreek Hill, Roma Dunze, Dalton Kincaid, and then Javonte Williams for the Denver Broncos against Seattle. And then at the defense
Javante.
slot, I got the Texans.
Javante Williams makes me a little nervous. I watched one of our buddies complain about him all year last year, but hey,
Hey, it's P Ryan's out of there, baby. Smarty's
eh,
on. It's the Javante show now.
we'll find out Sunday. You may be regretting those words very quickly, but we'll find out. So I kind of put together. So for me, I've been burned by tight ends so much in the past. I make sure that I build when I'm building these spreadsheets. I like to look at what's going on, but I like to center myself around a good tight end because I feel like a tight end can kind of separate you. So my lineup, Dalton Kincaid is the man. I'm spending a little bit extra money to make sure that I have him in a spot, somebody I can count on, right? Because they lost Diggs, they lost Gabe Davis. I think that Kincaid is going to be that safety blanket, that comfort. So I'm building around Kincaid.
I agree.
We talked about it a little bit. Big Baker Mayfield guy this year. So Baker Mayfield will be my quarterback. I'm actually going Tajay Spears. This is where you get a little
Ooh,
questionable here,
RJ
right?
Spears. All
Because
right. All right.
you got to reach a little bit when you spend money on
Hey,
tight
tighten
ends.
up, baby.
So tighten up. So I got Baker as my QB. I got Tajay Spears as my running back one or running back two, just whatever. There you go. Tighten up, baby. Here we
Tighten
go.
up, baby.
I got Joe Mixon as my running back two. I got Tyreek Hill as wide receiver one. I've got Drake London as wide receiver two. Roma Dunze, right? We've seen kind of the value where he's projected to get much more, triple times what his salary is. So I feel like he's a good play for $4,000. So I'm gonna keep him in my lineup. Dalton Kincaid is the man. I believe he's gonna carry this team. Hopefully, we'll see.
I'm with you.
I actually here's the Tajay Spears is the biggest question mark, no doubt.
Yeah.
Second question mark. Here we go. You ready? May crap your pants a little bit on this one, but I like Christian Kirk this year. Why?
Okay.
Ridley's gone,
Yeah, he's
right?
gone. Yeah.
They bring in Gabe Davis. We know Gabe Davis is boomer bust. He was with Josh Allen, but Kirk's the guy that's been there for a couple of years, right? Christian Kirk. So at his salary at 5,500, I replaced Tank Dell with Christian Kirk.
Mhm.
One of the things that we joke around a lot about is no touchies. No touches. We're not taking any chances on any of these guys. We've burned by them too much in the past, whatever it may be.
Yeah.
There's just a no love loss for some of these guys that we've had on our year-long fantasy teams or on our daily fantasy teams. Uh, Looking into week one, do you have a no touchy for
This
week
is
one?
really like my no touch player isn't really because I've been scorned by him. It's more of a I'm so afraid of what could happen if he's put at quarterback, and that's Sam Darnold at the Vikings. I'm like terrified, and I am staying as far away as I can from Justin Jefferson
Yeah,
at 8,400. He's at a really high price, and
it's
I
a high
do not
price.
trust Sam Darnold at all. And
Yeah,
that one is self-explanatory. But the Houston
seeing
Texans
ghosts.
also, yeah, seeing ghosts. Houston Texans, Nico Collins is the highest salary DraftKings player on that in that receiving core right now. He's
Yeah,
more expensive than Stephon Diggs and Tank Dell. So if I had to choose one of the receivers out of that three to start, I would start Stephon Diggs. He's a little bit
yeah,
cheaper, and Nico Collins at 7,000. That's just too steep for me with an offense with Joe Mixon,
yeah,
Tank Dell, and Stephon Diggs. It's too much. That's about
yeah,
21 fantasy points projected. I really don't see that happen unless he catches a long touchdown. And it's always possible, but
yeah,
in this game, you got to play percentages and chances, and I'll take my chances
yeah.
elsewhere on that one.
To me, Austin Eckler.
Yeah.
I don't know what his role looks like. They got a big back, Brian Robinson. Austin Eckler is obviously more talented than Brian Robinson. I'm not saying that, but he's one of those that I'm kind of scared to take a chance on right now with the uncertainty of what his role is going to look like. You know what I mean? I know that he's like I said, he's better than Brian Robinson. But what does this offense look like with a rookie quarterback, two running backs? That's a player that I'm going to stay away from
Little
right now until I get
skeptical.
a little
Yeah.
more, yeah, until I get a little bit more information as the weeks go
Yeah.
by. Um, but kind of with the no touches aside, pause. With the no touches aside, uh, is there anything else? Kind of as we're kind of wrapping up this short video, hopefully we talked a little bit too much. We'll try to keep it short in the future. But anything else that you feel like maybe we're missing or that we need to talk about for this week?
Not really. I think we've kind of touched on some of the value plays. We touched on the optimal lineups. We touched on some of our players we don't really want to touch and we don't want
Yeah,
to play them. Really, the only thing we got left is, I kind of want to ask you, like, what's your fantasy MVP this year for daily fantasy? So, like, who do you think is somebody that will outscore their projection, like the majority of the week? Somebody that you kind of see yourself playing almost every week, even if like could be a high salary guy, could be a low salary guy. Somebody that you trust the most this year. Who are you picking as your
yeah,
fantasy MVP?
that's a great question, right? And when we talk about fantasy MVP, obviously Christian McCaffrey's been a dog for a long time. You know he's going to put up points, but when we talk about that, we're talking about more of outscoring their projections, right? That's kind of the thing that we hammer, kind of what we're hoping to kind of pick that guy that can elevate us to the next level moving forward. And I've talked a little bit about it, but I, to me, my fantasy MVP is going to be Dalton Kincaid. I've
Oh yeah,
hammered him a little bit early,
yeah, that's a
but
good
I
one.
mean, if you're getting him under $6,000 and he is target option number one for Josh Allen, who's going to sling it around, to me, I think that could set up for a lot of success in the future, right?
I'm expecting Stephon Diggs volume for Kincaid this year. Like I'm expecting
Yeah,
10, 12 targets a game. So that's a good pick.
yeah. So that's kind of where I mean, cheap. He's one of the higher tight ends, but he's still under 6,000. If he kind of has the targets of a wide receiver one, wide receiver two, I feel like there's an opportunity for him to be that
Definitely.
fantasy MVP for us this year, or for me this year. But what about you? What do you have?
So my fantasy MVP, drum roll, Josh Jacobs with the Green Bay
Joshy?
Packers, baby. Roll Tide. That's who I'm going with. I think he's
Hey,
he's in a great spot. He's been in kind of a dumpster fire in Vegas, just kind of trying to survive some injuries. But now that he's at Green Bay with a better quarterback, they got some outside weapons, better offensive line. I really
yeah,
think Josh Jacobs is going to exceed behind with that offense. So that's kind
yeah,
of my fantasy MVP. He's probably going to be listed at some higher salary points, but I feel like with that offense, his floor is extremely high. So even if he
yeah,
gets me 15 to 20 points each week, I'll be satisfied with that because he should be
yeah,
he's probably somewhere within that range, somewhere within that 6,000 to 7,000 range.
yeah. He's a sneaky. I like him. Obviously, you know, we love the Tide. Obviously, I'm not gonna.
Oh, he's a dog, baby. One of the best ones to come out of Bama.
Yeah, I'm not gonna let that go unnoticed that we are a little partial
To
to
the
the Tide,
Bama.
baby.
Yeah,
But I do like that pick. I think that's a solid. You told me earlier in the week when we were going to talk that you had a Bama guy lined up for your fantasy MVP, and I was scratching my head all week. I knew you're a Titans guy. I was thinking, oh, he's going to pick Calvin Ridley. Josh Jacobs caught me a little off guard, but I
Josh
love it.
Jacobs,
That's a
baby.
good one for sure. But kind of as we're wrapping up for this first one, like we said, we're recording a little early this week just because of the schedules for us. This weekend, we got busy weekends, both of us, but stay tuned to the TikTok channel. As news breaks, like Kyle Pitts today, there's a chance that other things come out as somebody's getting hurt at practice. We'll kind of update the channel and update lineups if needed, but hopefully this was a video that just kind of allowed you to kind of get your feet wet as you're trying to build out these daily fantasy lineups. And hopefully we're providing some good tools uh, to allow you guys to have success in the future as you're drafting your lineups and stuff. And each week we're going to kind of talk about the successes that we had from our daily fantasy week prior, right? Or our failures. So we'll be
We're
quick
not
to let you know
afraid
where
to,
we,
yeah, we're not afraid to say we were wrong and this
yeah,
was a terrible play. And I'm sorry, but
yep.
we're struggling with you if you end up
Yeah,
they bust. We're right there with you.
we're the average Joes
We'll too.
trying to make it with you, baby. But hopefully you guys enjoyed this podcast or this quick little TikTok video. But hang tight, we're gonna get better and get more polished. But happy hunting this week. Hopefully everybody does good and wins a little bit of cash. But I'm signing off, Gabe. Enjoyed it, brother. I'll catch you for the next video.
Yes, sir. Good luck, everybody. See ya.
All right,
All
that's
right.
good.